Welcome back into NFL in a Flash post Super Bowl wrap up, and the last NFL in a Flash for a little bit. We'll do another one when NFL free agency begins and whenever draft preparations start. But Joel, the Super Bowl, it has come and gone. The New England Patriots, they won ring number 6. Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Julian Edelman was Super Bowl MVP. 13-3 final against the Rams, the lowest point total in Super Bowl history. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I thought it was a defensive struggle. You saw two offenses that the Patriots especially had success moving the ball early. You had the missed field goal. You had the interception. You had teams having to play for field position. You had Allen and Hecker both providing big punts and kind of flipping the field back and forth. So it's tough to say what we could see moving forward from all of that. But yeah, it was probably less than stellar. I understand that the entertainment value wasn't what fans were expecting. I thought the defenses played great. I didn't think it was necessarily a bad offensive game. I just thought you had two defensive-minded teams that went out there and really executed in a game featuring two high-scoring offenses.
Yeah, it's unique. The Rams, 33 points on average per game. They were held to 3. Both these two teams were top 4 in the league, or top 5 in the league in total offenses. And for me, being a defensive guy, I can appreciate 3 and outs. And, it was a great defensive battle, but there wasn't a lot of turnovers for us. So it was an interception late that was big. And, of course, Tom Brady threw an interception on the first play of the game that didn't come back to hurt him. But, to me, watching this game, it was still intriguing because one play could have made the difference. Todd Gurley could have burst out 80 yards and scored. That would have turned the tables. The pass from Brady to Gronkowski that put him down on the 2-yard line, that was the one big play offensively that mattered for New England. They scored that next play. So for me, that's why I was still intrigued. Did you get that feel at all when you were watching the game?
Yeah, I was still very much intrigued because it was a close game throughout. And then even after the touchdown, you thought, okay, well, finally the Patriots are able to punch it in. The Rams went right down and drove inside the Patriots 30 before Goff throws an interception. So I thought you had a lot of great defensive plays. The fact that there was only one turnover on each side, I thought actually made it somewhat more compelling because I think it's more difficult for a defense to continue to put up low numbers on the scoreboard when you're having to do it by forcing punts instead of forcing turnovers. You're not getting the big spark plays to give your team that motivation. It's just a 3 and out. A 3 and out, is it a big momentum shifter? Not as much as a turnover. It doesn't fire up the offense as much as an interception at midfield that gives the offense good field position. But when you're forcing 3 and out, the defense is fired up. But when you have a 65-yard punt that sets your offense back, your offense still has to go the length of the field. So it doesn't turn the momentum as much as you would see an interception or a fumble or a big sack. So I thought it was just intriguing that the defenses continue to play at that highly of a level. I mean, if you had said that the Rams were going to give up only 13 points in that game, you would have taken the Rams to win by 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
Tom Brady, of course, numbers a little underwhelming. Jared Goff, numbers a little underwhelming. Sony Michel had a good day on the ground. He almost had 100 yards. He scored the game's only touchdown. But Julian Edelman takes home the MVP honors, 10 receptions, 140 yards through the air. Should that MVP award have gone to Michel, considering he had a decent day, he scored the only touchdown, or were you fine with Edelman taking it home?
I was fine with Edelman taking it. I did think, basically, if we're looking at it by a stat line, Michel had essentially the game-winning touchdown. You had Brady and Gronk with a big catch. I thought Michel, you could have justified giving it to him. It just felt like, even though Michel had so many carries, with the exception of the big one towards the end, and that's probably why, if you take away the 26-yard run that he has when the Patriots are trying to ice the game, and that was a big run, don't get me wrong, but then it's only a 70-yard day with 1 touchdown. In a low-scoring game like that makes a huge difference, but Edelman, it just seemed like he was all over the field. He was coming up with big catches when the Patriots needed to move the football. Now, most of those drives with those catches didn't lead to anything, but I thought you had big plays from Edelman all night. It just seemed like they were more timely, and I didn't have a problem with it. I know there's a lot of controversy with him sitting out the first 4 games with the suspension. Overall, I thought Edelman was really, really big for New England.
For the Rams, coming up short in a losing effort, obviously Todd Gurley, was he completely healthy? If he was, then why did he not play more the last 2 weeks? Kind of interesting there. But a talented team. They lose their quarterbacks coach to Zach Taylor, now going to Cincinnati. But a team that's young, a team that's looking to come back and continue to be there again. John Kelly on the losing end. He played special teams the other night. What do you see from the Rams moving forward into next year and the years to come?
They'll be the favorites in the NFC West for certain. I mean, the Seahawks seem like they're getting better now that Pete Carroll's got an extension and everything, and see how much they can progress. So that could be a fun division as a whole if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy for San Francisco next year. Yeah. But I do think the Rams would be the heavy favorites to win that division. They'll be in the running to get a first-round bye, potentially win the conference outright in the regular season. I think you've got a lot of young talent in the backfield. C.J. Anderson's been a nice complementary piece who has backed up Todd Gurley nicely. I don't understand what happened with him in these last 2 games over the past 3 weeks, and that's been very odd. And he handled it like a professional, to his credit, but it leads me to believe that there has to be some sort of medical issue. So I think you've got explosive players on both sides of the football. I really like what you have on defense. I think you do a lot of good things. And still, it wasn't talked about enough because the Patriots ultimately won the game. I thought Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh did a great job at blowing up the middle of that offensive line at times. They stuffed the running game for most of the game when they had to. It's just unfortunate that when they really needed to be able to stop the run and they could key in on it, they gave up 2 26-yard runs on the Patriots' final drive, leading to that Gostkowski field goal. So I think for the Rams, you got a lot of talent coming back. I think you've got a great coach in Sean McVay. They're going to be a contender in the NFC next season. It's just tough to come back from having lost the Super Bowl and then go back the following year. We've seen that in recent years. The Falcons really dropped off after losing the Super Bowl. The Panthers really dropped off after losing the Super Bowl. So we've seen it, especially with some of these NFC teams, because the NFC, I think, has been more top-heavy with all the competitors it has. Teams that lose the Super Bowl in the NFC in recent years have trouble maintaining that level of success the following season.
Last but not least, as we wrap up NFL in a Flash here on a Wednesday morning, it's easy looking back. It was the Patriots. They took down the Rams. They're Super Bowl champions. But were they the best team in the league this year? Who do you think was the overall top to bottom best team in the league? And maybe if they got another chance in that playoff matchup, they could have been the one taking home the Lombardi Trophy.
I would probably say the Saints. I know that there would be a strong argument for the Chiefs. I thought the Chiefs on defense left a lot of things to be desired at a lot of stages this season. Defense, I thought, played a lot better in the postseason. It really showed up against Indianapolis. That was probably the biggest surprise. Not that they beat the Colts, but that they crushed them. And defense had a great game. Now, the defense couldn't stop Tom Brady. And, we're down 14-0 at the end of the first half in the AFC title game. So I'd probably give the edge to the Saints, who improved remarkably on defense, especially after that big Week 9 matchup with the Rams. From Week 10 on, the Saints had the best defense in the NFL in a lot of areas. So I probably would have taken the Saints. That was my pick at the beginning of the postseason to win the Super Bowl, win the NFC, and then go on to claim the title. I think, I picked the Chiefs and the Saints at the beginning of the playoffs, and if that had been our Super Bowl matchup, I probably would have taken New Orleans. So I thought you had a lot of good teams this year that could have contended for it, but again, the Patriots still finding ways to defy everything. A season in which they lost to 5 teams that didn't make the playoffs. 3 of those losses were to double digits. They started out 1-2. They lost back-to-back games at 2 different points.
They struggled on the road, but went on the road into Arrowhead, won the AFC Championship game. And
played like a complete team. Yeah. You knew Kansas City was going to come back and make that game a fight in the second half. But the fact that New England continued to play at a high level, it's crazy. It's crazy what the Patriots are able to do. Even when you think they're supposed to be at their worst, they're at their best. And then when they're at their best, going into the Super Bowl with an 18-0 record, they lose. So it's weird, So whenever they're at their best, they're at their worst. And whenever at their worst, they're at their best and they win the Super Bowl.
Bold prediction real quick. Tom Brady, he'll be 42 next year. Looking at a multi-year extension. Bold prediction, that was the last Super Bowl that we're going to see Tom Brady playing. I think so. You?
Oh, man.
They call it a bold prediction for nothing.
That's really tough. I would probably hold on that stock right now because we still don't know about Gronkowski. We still don't know what's going to happen with the wide receiver position. I will say no. I would probably lean towards no right now. I think it would stop at 6. It's going to depend on what happens in the offseason for New England. Now, the thing is, you finally have a backfield that you can trust. I thought the offensive line overall, too, did a nice job at being able to protect Tom Brady. He was only sacked once. I thought, despite what the Rams were able to do on defense, Brady, what he does works. And so at this stage, it's hard to say that he won't get another one. I don't think they'll get it next year. So you're talking about them going to a 4th straight Super Bowl, winning 3 in 4 years for the second time in Tom Brady's career. I would say no at this point. It's just so tough. And the drop-off has to come eventually. Father Time's undefeated. The drop-off has to come at some point.
It'll come at some point. He is Joel Silverberg. I'm Eric Cain. Thanks so much for tuning in all season long right here to Sports Radio, WNML.com for NFL in a Flash. And like I said earlier, when the draft approaches, we'll be back on here giving updates, free agency updates when the calendar flips over in March and all through the summer until NFL season is finally here around the September time. Again, he's Joel. I'm Eric. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later here on NFL in a Flash, Sports Radio, WNML.